On this slide, we are diving into the introduction of engagement management, which is the first domain of the CompTIA PenTest PT0-003 certification exam. In this class, we'll focus on understanding the essential aspects of engagement management within the scope of penetration testing. The objective here is to familiarize you with the key components that form the backbone of effective engagement management. First, we'll provide an overview of what engagement management entails. This is fundamental for any penetration tester, as it lays down the framework for all subsequent testing activities. We'll discuss its significance and the role it plays in ensuring a structured and successful penetration testing process. Next, we'll address why engagement management is crucial in penetration testing. This involves clear communication with stakeholders, setting the right expectations, and accurately defining the scope of the penetration test. These elements are critical for mitigating misunderstandings and making sure that the test objectives align with the client's needs. Lastly, we'll give you a brief insight into the course structure and what you can expect as we proceed. We'll explore various aspects of engagement management, and by the end of this section, you should have a thorough understanding of how to effectively manage a penetration testing engagement from start to finish. In the next slide, we will delve deeper into the definition of engagement management in the context of penetration testing and discuss its importance in more detail. Now, let's dive deeper into the concept of engagement management within penetration testing. Engagement management refers to the overall process of planning, executing, and monitoring a penetration test. In this context, engagement management ensures clear communication, sets expectations with stakeholders, and precisely defines the scope of the test. These elements are critical to delivering a successful penetration testing engagement. Having clear and well-documented engagement management processes is fundamental. It facilitates smooth interactions between the client and the testing team, allowing both sides to understand the objectives, timelines, and responsibilities. This, in turn, minimizes misunderstandings and ensures that the test aligns with the client's security goals. In the next slide, we'll get more specific about defining the scope of a penetration test. We will cover key regulations, frameworks, and standards that can guide our efforts, such as GDPR and HIPAA for privacy, and ISO/IEC 27001 and NIST for security. We'll also look at establishing rules of engagement, identifying exclusions, detailing test cases, planning for escalation processes, and defining the testing window. All these elements contribute to a well-scoped and well-managed penetration testing engagement. This structured approach helps maintain the integrity of the testing process and ensures all stakeholder expectations are met without any surprises. Now that we've introduced engagement management in penetration testing and emphasized its significance in ensuring clear communication and defining the scope, let's delve deeper into identifying the scope itself. Here on slide 3, we focus on scope definition. Understanding and clearly defining the scope is vital to any penetration test, as it sets the boundaries and guidelines for the testing process. We begin with regulations, frameworks, and standards. Privacy. This includes adherence to regulations like GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, and HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, to protect personal data and sensitive health information. Security. Compliance with security standards such as ISO/IEC 27001 and NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, which provide frameworks for securing information systems. Next, we consider the rules of engagement, which encompasses several critical components. Exclusions. Define clearly which systems or areas are off-limits for testing to avoid unintended disruptions or breaches. Test cases. These are the specific scenarios that will be examined during the testing phase. Clearly defined test cases help ensure thorough and targeted evaluations. Escalation process. Establish a clear procedure for escalating issues found during testing, ensuring that critical vulnerabilities are addressed promptly and effectively. Testing window. This specifies the time period during which the testing is authorized. It's crucial to coordinate with stakeholders to minimize impact on normal business operations. In the next slide, we will explore agreement types and target selection, which will further lay the groundwork for effective engagement management. This will include details on the various legal and contractual agreements necessary for a penetration test and criteria for selecting targets within the scope. Let's proceed to understand these important components in detail. On this slide, we will be focusing on the different types of agreements that are crucial when engaging in security testing and ensuring that all parties involved are on the same page. First, we have the Non-Disclosure Agreement, NDA, which is fundamental for protecting any sensitive information that is exchanged during the engagement. It ensures that confidential details remain secure and are not disclosed to unauthorized parties. Next, the Master Service Agreement, MSA, governs the overall relationship between the parties. This is a broad agreement that outlines the general terms and conditions under which the services will be provided and specifies the responsibilities and expectations of each party. The Statement of Work gets into more specifics. It provides a detailed description of the work to be performed, including the scope, deliverables, and timelines. This document is essential to ensure that both parties have a clear understanding of what is expected and to avoid any misunderstandings. Lastly, the Terms of Service, TOS, which outlines the general terms for the usage of services. This document includes provisions related to acceptable use policies, limitations of liability, and other terms that users must agree to in order to use the service. Understanding these agreement types is vital for ensuring a smooth and professional engagement process. In the next slide, we will discuss target selection, including identifying specific network ranges, domains, IP addresses, and URLs to be tested. In the previous slide, we discussed the different agreement types such as non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, master service agreements, MSAs, statements of work, SOWs, and terms of service, TOS. These agreements are crucial for outlining the expectations and responsibilities between parties involved in a security assessment project. Now, moving on to slide 5, we will delve into target selection. This is a critical step in any security assessment as it defines the scope of what will be tested. First, we have seed or ranges. CIDR, which stands for Classless Interdomain Routing, helps us identify specific network ranges to be tested. An example here would be the range 192.168.1.24, which includes all IP addresses from 192.168.1.0 to 192.168.1.255. Next, we specify domains. This involves listing the domains that are included within the scope of the assessment. It ensures that all relevant web properties of the target organization are considered. For IP addresses, we list specific IPs that will be tested. This is particularly useful when the target infrastructure is spread across different locations or managed by different entities. Finally, we identify URLs that need to be tested. URLs can point to specific web pages or web applications, ensuring that critical application endpoints are covered in our assessment. Having clear target selection criteria allows us to focus our efforts, ensuring that our security assessment is thorough and aligned with the objectives set forth in our agreements. In the next slide, we will explore various assessment types, including web, network, mobile, cloud, API, application, and wireless security assessments. This will give us an understanding of the different methodologies and tools required to assess these diverse environments effectively. Now that we've discussed how to select appropriate targets for your assessment, let's move on to the different types of security assessments you might conduct. Slide 6 outlines the various assessment types that are essential for a comprehensive security evaluation. First, we have web assessments, which focus on identifying vulnerabilities within websites. This could involve analyzing web applications, web servers, and associated infrastructure for flaws such as SQL injection or cross-site scripting. Next is network assessment, which evaluates the security of network infrastructure. This includes scanning for open ports, vulnerable services, and misconfigurations that could be exploited by attackers. Mobile assessments are crucial for understanding the security posture of mobile applications. This involves testing apps on various operating systems to ensure they are secure. When it comes to cloud environments, assessments will ensure that cloud services and configurations adhere to best practices and compliance standards, aiming to secure everything from virtual machines to storage buckets. API testing focuses on the security of application programming interfaces, making sure that data flowing through these endpoints are protected against common attacks. Application assessments cover traditional software applications, evaluating their code and functionality for security vulnerabilities, whether they are desktop applications or something else. Lastly, wireless assessments target the security of wireless networks, which often includes testing the encryption, authentication mechanisms, and overall wireless network setup. Understanding these different types of assessments will help guide your security testing strategy, ensuring that every aspect of the environment is evaluated for potential risks. Next, we will delve into the shared responsibility model and touch upon some key legal and ethical considerations. Now that we have an understanding of the various types of security assessments, let's dive into the shared responsibility model and some legal and ethical considerations. In today's interconnected environment, security isn't the responsibility of just one party. This slide discusses the shared responsibility model. Here, we've broken it down into 4 main categories. Hosting provider responsibilities. These include ensuring the infrastructure is secure. The provider must safeguard the physical data centers, manage essential updates, and uphold security standards that shield both the environment and the data. Customer responsibilities. This pertains majorly to configuring and managing your applications and data within the provider's infrastructure. Customers need to correctly set permissions, maintain their applications up to date, and secure endpoints. Penetration tester responsibilities. This focuses on conducting the tests in an ethical and secure manner. Penetration testers must follow agreed-upon protocols and respect the boundaries defined by the client and the legal framework. Third-party responsibilities. Lastly, third parties involved must ensure compliance with regulatory standards and contractual obligations. They need to engage responsibly and ensure no aspect of the security posture is neglected. In the next slide, we will go through the legal and ethical considerations that are crucial for ensuring that penetration testing is not only effective, but also lawful and morally sound. This includes obtaining authorization letters, understanding mandatory reporting requirements, and mitigating risks to penetration testers. Slide 8 focuses on the legal and ethical considerations that are crucial when performing penetration testing. Here we dig deeper into 3 key aspects. 1. Authorization letters. It's essential to obtain proper permissions before conducting any penetration tests. This documentation is not just a formality, it's your legal safeguard. It ensures that everyone involved is aware of the scope and boundaries of the testing activities. 2. Mandatory reporting requirements. Every jurisdiction has its own set of rules about what needs to be reported to authorities when vulnerabilities or breaches are discovered. Familiarize yourself with these legal requirements to avoid any compliance issues. 3. Risk to the penetration tester. Conducting penetration tests carries personal risks, both legally and physically. Understanding these risks and taking steps to mitigate them is important to ensure your safety and avoid any potential legal repercussions. We'll be moving on to collaboration and communication activities in the next class, focusing more on how teamwork and clear communication are pivotal in penetration testing projects. On this slide, we delve into the essential activities focusing on collaboration and communication during penetration testing, foundational elements for ensuring the success and accuracy of our work. First, let's talk about peer review. This is a crucial step where fellow penetration testers review your findings and methodologies. Peer reviews help to maintain the quality and accuracy of your test results, catching any oversights and ensuring that the data is robust and reliable. Stakeholder alignment is another vital component. Clear and consistent communication with all relevant parties, including business leaders, IT staff, and security teams, is essential. This ensures everyone is on the same page regarding the objectives, progress, and findings of the penetration test. Lastly, root cause analysis is the process of delving deeper into the issues uncovered during testing in order to identify their underlying causes. By understanding the root cause, you can provide more effective recommendations for remediation and help prevent similar issues in the future. On the next slide, we'll discuss the escalation path, which involves defining the proper steps for escalating issues discovered during testing, ensuring secure distribution of sensitive information, and effectively articulating the risks, severity, and impacts of the findings. Now that we've discussed the various collaboration and communication activities in Class 4, let's move on to Slide 10, which focuses on the escalation path. The escalation path is a critical component in ensuring that issues are addressed promptly and effectively. It involves defining clear steps for escalating issues to the appropriate stakeholders or higher levels of management when necessary. This structured approach helps maintain efficient workflows and ensures that no critical issue is neglected. Next, we have secure distribution. The key here is to safeguard sensitive information during communication. Whether it's sharing test results or discussing vulnerabilities, it's crucial to maintain confidentiality and ensure that information is only accessible to authorized personnel. Finally, we must articulate risk, severity, and impact effectively. This involves clearly explaining the risks identified during testing and their potential impact on the organization. Proper articulation helps in prioritizing issues and making informed decisions on remediation efforts. With these points covered, we'll be wrapping up Class 4. In the next class, we'll dive into testing frameworks and methodologies, where we'll explore various standards and best practices, such as OSSTMM and more. Let's proceed to Slide 11 for an overview of these frameworks. In the previous slide, we discussed the escalation path, the importance of secure distribution to safeguard sensitive information, and how to articulate risk, severity, and impact effectively. Now let's move on to Class 5, where we'll cover testing frameworks and methodologies. This includes a variety of standards and tools you're likely to encounter in the field of cybersecurity. First, we have the OSSTM, the Open Source Security Testing Methodology Manual, which is a comprehensive guide for all types of security testing. Next, the CREST certification provides a structured and recognized path for ethical security testers. PTS, the Penetration Testing Execution Standard, offers guidelines and best practices for conducting penetration tests effectively. The MITRE ATT&CK framework is an invaluable resource for understanding adversarial tactics, techniques, and procedures, while the OWASP Top 10 focuses on the most critical web application security risks. Lastly, the OWASP MAS-VS provides a framework for assessing the security of mobile applications. In the upcoming slide, we'll explore various threat modeling frameworks such as DRID, STRIDE, and Octave, which help in identifying and prioritizing potential threats to your systems. These methodologies will enable you to develop more robust security strategies tailored to your organization's specific needs. Let's move on to discussing different threat modeling frameworks, which are crucial for identifying, understanding, and managing the security risks associated with various systems and applications. First, we have DREAD, which stands for Damage Potential, Reproducibility, Exploitability, Affected Users, and Discoverability. This is a mnemonic that aids in assessing the severity of a threat by quantifying these 5 factors, giving a comprehensive view of potential impacts. Next, there's STRIDE, representing spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privilege. STRIDE helps to categorize types of threats that can compromise security, providing a structured approach to identifying specific vulnerabilities. Lastly, Octave, which stands for Operationally Critical Threat, Asset, and Vulnerability Evaluation. This framework focuses heavily on organizational risk management and assesses threats in the context of critical assets and operational security practices. Each of these frameworks offers unique advantages and perspectives depending on the context and requirements of your security assessment. Understanding these can help you apply the right methodology for effective threat modeling. On the next slide, we'll transition into discussing the essential components of a penetration test report in Class 6. This involves aspects such as format alignment, documentation specifications, risk scoring, and clear definitions, which are pivotal for creating a thorough and professional penetration test report. On the previous slide, we delved into various threat modeling frameworks, specifically DREAD, STRIDE, and Octave. These frameworks help us assess potential security risks by focusing on specific types of threats and vulnerabilities. Now let's shift our attention to the core components of a penetration test report. This brings us to slide 13, penetration test report components. A well-structured penetration test report is crucial for communicating the findings and recommendations to stakeholders effectively. Here are the key components you need to include. 1. Format alignment, ensuring consistency in the report structure. A uniform format helps in readability and makes it easier for different stakeholders to follow. 2. Documentation specifications. All aspects of the documentation need to be detailed and precise. This includes background information, methodologies used, and specifics of the findings. 3. Risk scoring. Quantifying the risks associated with each finding. This is essential for prioritizing remediation efforts and understanding the potential impact. 4. Definitions. Providing clear explanations of technical terms and concepts used throughout the report. This ensures that everyone, regardless of their technical expertise, can understand the content. These components form the backbone of a comprehensive penetration test report, contributing to its clarity and effectiveness in driving actionable insights. In the next slide, we will break down these components further, detailing each section, including the executive summary, methodology, detailed findings, attack narrative, recommendations, and remediation guidance. On the previous slide, we discussed the essential components that make up a penetration test report. We covered the importance of maintaining a consistent format, providing detailed and accurate documentation, quantifying risks through risk scoring, and offering clear definitions of terms and concepts used. Now on this slide, we will dive into the detailed components that each penetration test report should include. 1. Executive summary. This section provides a high-level overview of the findings and recommendations. It's tailored for executives and stakeholders who need to understand the key issues without getting into technical details. 2. Methodology. Here, you should describe in detail the testing methods used during the penetration test. This could include the tools and techniques employed, ensuring that the process can be understood and replicated if necessary. 3. Detailed findings. This is a comprehensive list of discovered vulnerabilities. Each finding should be thoroughly documented with evidence and categorized based on severity. 4. Attack narrative. This section offers a storyline of the testing process and results. It helps the reader understand how an attacker exploited vulnerabilities and the potential impact of these actions. 5. Recommendations. Practical guidance on remediation is provided here. Each identified issue should have corresponding recommendations on how to address and mitigate the risk. 6. Remediation guidance. This includes specific actionable steps to fix identified issues. It's crucial to make these instructions clear and feasible to ensure the organization can effectively reduce or eliminate the vulnerabilities. In our next session, we'll move on to Class 7, where we will discuss important reporting considerations. This will include test limitations and assumptions, ensuring compliance with legal and ethical standards, maintaining quality control, and integrating AI for analysis and report generation. In the previous slide, we delved into the essential components of a detailed report, including the executive summary, methodology, detailed findings, attack narrative, recommendations, and remediation guidance. It's critical to understand these components as they form the backbone of any comprehensive security evaluation report. Now, in this current section titled Reporting Considerations, we are going to examine several vital factors that influence how we compile and present our findings. First, we have test limitations and assumptions. Here, it's important to clarify the boundaries of our testing and any assumptions that were made, ensuring transparency and managing expectations. Next, we need to address legal and ethical considerations. It's imperative that our reporting adheres to relevant laws and ethical standards, safeguarding both the organization and the individuals involved. Quality control (QC) is another key element. Maintaining high standards in the preparation of our reports is non-negotiable. Accuracy and clarity can make the difference in effectively communicating our findings. Lastly, we have artificial intelligence, AI. Leveraging AI for analysis and report generation can enhance the efficiency and depth of our reporting process, providing new insights and speeding up the delivery of actionable information. In the next class, we will focus on analyzing findings and recommending remediation, where we'll break down various technical controls such as system hardening, sanitizing user inputs, multi-factor authentication, and more. These steps are crucial as they translate our findings into actionable and effective security improvements. Continuing from where we left off, we're now moving into Class 8, which focuses on analyzing findings and recommending remediation. On Slide 16, we'll be delving into technical controls that can significantly bolster our security posture. First, we have system hardening. This involves tightening the defenses of your systems, minimizing exposure to potential threats by removing unnecessary services and closing unused ports. Next is the importance of sanitizing user input and parameterizing queries. These practices are essential in preventing injection attacks, where malicious inputs can compromise your system. Multi-factor authentication adds another layer of security by requiring multiple forms of verification, making it much harder for unauthorized entities to gain access. Encryption plays a dual role in protecting data, both at rest and in transit, ensuring that sensitive information remains confidential and intact. Lastly, process-level remediation focuses on fixing specific processes identified during the analysis. By addressing these targeted areas, you can mitigate vulnerabilities effectively. As we proceed, the next slide will cover advanced remediation techniques like patch management, key rotation, certificate management, secrets management solutions, network segmentation, and infrastructure security controls. Each of these components will be instrumental in fortifying your overall security strategy. As we continue our discussion on analyzing findings and recommending remediation, let's delve into the remaining technical controls crucial for enhancing our system's defenses. On this slide, we focus on 5 key areas. Patch management. This involves keeping all systems and software up to date with the latest patches and updates. Timely patching is critical to mitigate vulnerabilities and prevent exploits. Key rotation. Regularly changing encryption keys is essential for maintaining the integrity and security of encrypted data. This practice helps to minimize the risk of a key being compromised over time. Certificate management. Secure handling of digital certificates is imperative. This includes proper issuance, renewal, and revocation processes to ensure the continued trustworthiness of your digital communications. Secrets management solution. It's crucial to protect sensitive information such as passwords, API keys, and other secrets. Implementing a robust secrets management solution helps in securely storing and accessing these credentials. Network segmentation. By isolating critical systems, we can limit the potential damage of a breach. Network segmentation restricts lateral movement within the network, thus providing an additional layer of security. Finally, infrastructure security controls are integral for strengthening the overall security posture of your infrastructure. This holistic approach ensures that all components are fortified against potential threats. In the next slide, we'll be exploring administrative controls, which include strategies like role-based access control, secure software development lifecycle, and more. These controls are essential for establishing a comprehensive security framework. Slide 17, Administrative Controls. In this section, we'll discuss various administrative controls which play a critical role in maintaining systems security. First is role-based access control. This ensures that users only have access to the information and resources necessary for their roles, minimizing the risk of unauthorized access and potential damage. Next, we have the secure software development lifecycle. By integrating security practices into every phase of software development, we can identify and mitigate vulnerabilities early on, thereby producing more secure applications. A crucial component of administrative controls is establishing minimum password requirements. Strong password policies help in preventing unauthorized access by enforcing the use of complex and unique passwords. Lastly, comprehensive policies and procedures are essential. These documents provide clear security guidelines and practices that everyone in the organization should follow. They ensure consistency and clarity in actions and responses concerning security issues. Together, these administrative controls form a robust framework that helps in safeguarding our organization's assets and data. Next, we'll dive into operational controls. covering aspects like job rotation, time of day restrictions, mandatory vacations, and user training. On this slide, we'll be discussing operational controls. These are procedures and policies that can be implemented to manage and mitigate risks from a human and process-oriented perspective. First, we have job rotation. This is the practice of regularly changing the roles and responsibilities of employees. It helps in reducing the risk of insider threats because it limits the opportunity for malicious activities by ensuring no single individual has prolonged control over a critical process. Next, time of day restrictions. This involves setting up limits on when certain systems or data can be accessed. It can prevent unauthorized access during off hours and helps in managing the risk of attacks that might be planned for less monitored times. Mandatory vacations are another important control. By requiring employees to take time off, organizations can detect any suspicious activities that might only come to light in their absence. It also prevents burnout and ensures periodic audits of ongoing processes. Last but not least, we have user training. Continuous education about security best practices is crucial. It empowers users by making them aware of potential threats and teaching them how to respond appropriately, thereby reducing the likelihood of human error contributing to security breaches. In the next slide, we will move on to discuss physical controls, which include measures like access control vestibule, biometric controls, and video surveillance. Let's continue our discussion by diving into physical controls on slide 19. Physical controls are critical for ensuring that only authorized individuals have physical access to sensitive areas and resources. We begin with the access control vestibule. This involves implementing physical security barriers such as montraps, which are small rooms with two interconnected doors, to control access. This ensures that only one person can enter at a time and provides an added layer of security by verifying credentials at multiple points. Next, we have biometric controls. These use biometric authentication methods, such as fingerprint scanners, facial recognition, or retina scans, to verify the identity of individuals attempting to gain access. Biometric controls are highly effective because they rely on unique physiological characteristics that are difficult to forge or steal. The third point is video surveillance. Continuous monitoring using cameras in and around sensitive areas can deter unauthorized access and provide a record of activities. This helps in both real-time monitoring and post-incident analysis. These physical controls, combined with the operational controls we discussed in the previous slide, form a robust security posture for protecting sensitive environments. In the next slide, Class 9, we will move on to reviewing the course as a whole and addressing any questions or concerns you might have. In this final class session, we will review the key points covered throughout this course and address any questions you may have. Let's dive into a brief summary. First, we went over various physical controls essential for securing your systems. We discussed the implementation of access control vestibules as a physical security barrier, the utilization of biometric controls for robust authentication, and video surveillance for monitoring access to sensitive areas. Throughout this course, we've emphasized the importance of integrating these measures into your overall security strategy, ensuring a layered defense that combines physical security with cybersecurity practices. Now let's take the time to clarify any doubts or questions you might have about the topics we have covered. This is your opportunity to ensure you have a firm grasp of the material as we wrap up this course. In our next slide, we'll discuss the next steps for continued learning and provide some tips for those preparing to take the CompTIA PenTest Plus certification exam. Slide 21 focuses on the next steps you should take after completing this course. First up, let's discuss further learning. Although this course has provided you with a solid foundation, there are always more resources to help deepen your understanding. I recommend exploring additional study materials such as textbooks, online articles, and other advanced courses on Pluralsight to enhance your knowledge and skills in penetration testing. Next, let's go over some certification exam tips for the CompTIA PenTest Plus exam. Preparation is key, so make sure to review all the objectives covered in this course. Practice with sample questions and take mock exams to familiarize yourself with the exam format. Time management during the test is crucial, so pace yourself to ensure you can answer all questions. Lastly, make use of study groups and forums to discuss complex topics and share insights with peers. With this approach, you'll be well prepared to take on the CompTIA PenTest Plus certification exam confidently.